This is an overview of chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna discussed how Karma Yoga, action on the platform of knowledge, leads to bhakti. In the second 6 chapters, Krishna spoke directly of himself and the glories of devotional service. And in the third 6 chapters, Krishna discusses how jnana leads to bhakti. Starting with the 13th chapter, how the living entity comes into contact with material nature and how he is delivered by the Supreme Lord through the different methods of fruitive activities, cultivation of knowledge, and devotional service are explained. In the first section, verses 1 to 7, Kshetra and Kshetragya are described. Kshetra means field of activities, and Kshetragya means the knower of the field. So, in this case, it means our body and ourselves as the knower, the living entity, the knower of the field. In chapter 12, verse 7, Krishna has promised to redeem his devotees. To that end, he will now declare the knowledge needed to elevate his devotees from the material world. Arjuna asks Krishna to explain 6 topics: Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana, and Gyeya. Krishna explains knowledge of the field of activities and the knower of the field. In the next section, verses 8 to 12, the process of knowledge is described. Having described knowledge of the field and the knower of the field in the previous section, Krishna now explains the process of knowledge, beginning with humility and culminating in realization of the absolute truth. These are verses 8 to 12, and they are given together, all together, and the purport is on all of these verses at once. So this is one of the most important sections of the Gita, and the first item of knowledge, the first qualification for receiving knowledge is amanitvam, which means humility. In the next section, the object of knowledge is described. This is verses 13 to 19. So the object of knowledge is called Gyeyam, and that means that the soul and the super soul is discussed. Previously, Krishna explained the soul and super soul as Kshetragya, or knowers of the field. So apart from the soul, the knower of the field of activities is the super soul also, which is situated in our heart. By understanding the difference between the body, the soul, and the super soul, and by following the process of knowledge, which has many items, as given in verses 8 to 12, the soul can transcend dualities of material nature, realize his eternal subordination to Krishna, and attain the supreme destination. In verses 20 to 26, Prakriti, Purusha, and their union is described. Prakriti means nature, Purusha means the enjoyer. Having described Gyeya as the self and the super soul, or super self, Krishna now explains the soul and super soul as Purusha in terms of their connection with material nature. One who understands Prakriti, Purusha, and their interactions attains liberation from birth in this world. This is very interesting. One who understands Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and their interactions attains liberation from birth in this world. Other methods of understanding the Supersoul are Jnana, Ashtanga, and Karma. So as you can see, all these different Vedic processes that are known to people in India in different forms and shapes, sometimes twisted forms, are actually meant for the realization of Krishna in the form, either in the form of the Supersoul or in the form of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, there is impersonalists who want to realize Brahman, the all-pervading effulgence of the Lord, but Srimad Bhagavatam describes Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabdate, 3 stages of transcendental realization, realization of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And the last section of chapter 13, these are verses 27 to 35, describes the vision of knowledge, Jnana Chakshusha. This is so important. This actually saved me from a lot of stress. I tried my best to see everything that happens to me in my life through the eyes of the scriptures, through the vision of knowledge, and this spared me from so much stress and anxiety. Those who see the distinction between the body, its owner, and the Supersoul, and who recognize the process of liberation, can attain the supreme goal. So this is the overview of the chapter 13.